Welcome back, team. We are back with After Hours, and we have a lot of great content today. I know I'm excited. Maddie, are you excited to talk about Casper today?
Absolutely. I think that we have a lot of really great fundamental catalysts coming along here, and definitely happy to chat about some of the positive things happening for the Casper network right now.
Team, we're going to get into it right now, discussing a full Prove AI breakdown and overview. We're going to skim the overview because we've discussed this before, so you can go back and look at that. But we are going to provide a complete overview of why this is important, this Prove AI tool. And we're also going to react to a former SEC official bashing Bitcoin in one of my Telegram channels that I get alerts from. I saw this video someone posted in there as this SEC official bashing Bitcoin. Why would someone ever offer Bitcoin to one of their clients? And I was just like, oh brother. So we're going to react to that. And then we are going to get into some Hedera collaborations we saw today, the Mica Alliance, and we saw Hedera joining one of Linux Foundation's projects. So we're going to get into that, team, before we get into the content today. Become a Crypto Charged member. Very important you do that. We are over there. We do shows every single day of the week, Monday through Friday. And a lot of good information over there, and you can join our community there. So click the pink link down below. Use code. What code should they use, Maddie?
If you guys don't want to pay full price and you guys want 30 days free, make sure you guys use code YouTube when you guys go to check out.
Very important you do that, team. Let's get into some of the content today. So we've discussed Prove AI, and this is very important for Casper. This is real utility, and with our crypto investments, we need to see real utility. So I just want to discuss this Prove AI tool for a second, circle back to things we've discussed in the past, and maybe look a little bit into the future here. So follow me here. So Prove AI is a first of its kind tool that provides a critical layer of security insights into generative AI systems. So, team, when you go onto Google and you search something, if you've noticed within the past year, an AI overview pops up at the top, and that is using generative AI. And so when we talk about AI governance, especially with Casper, it is very important we govern this. So my example here is, let's talk about very briefly about the mustache man from World War II. Very controversial figure. We could all agree on that one. And so if you were to look something up on him, and the AI overview at the top gave you a very controversial opinion, especially with some of these anti-Semitism laws running across the states, that would be a major harm to many, some would say. And so that would cause a big money grab from Google to have to pay in fines if we are allowing this, right? And so this is where AI governance steps in. This is where Casper steps in. This is where Prove AI steps in, okay? And so we have a patent pending for this, and we don't know if this is confirmed yet. All we know, this is pending on the Casper website. So we are still awaiting that, but I just want to give like some kind of context here, Maddie, to the people. Is like, okay, where is this coming from, right? So Prove AI is a spawn from the Watson X governance tool, all right, with IBM and Casper. That was a collaborative tool created out of that partnership, a very popular partnership that we've talked about in detail a lot. But then came this Prove AI tool, and that was a result of the creation of the Watson X governance tool. So some will say, it's like, oh, is this Casper tools? Is this IBM's tool? Well, it was created by Casper and, consulted with a helping hand of IBM Consulting. So that's the spawn of it, but it's really Casper's tool at the end of the day. But let me just tell you what Prove AI is itself. Let me just cut to the chase here instead of talking about Mustache Man. Prove AI itself focuses on using AI to verify and prove the authenticity of data in real time, with blockchain serving as a trusted, immutable ledger and AI enabling fast and intelligent data analysis. The collaboration enhances industries such as finance, healthcare, and supply chain management by automating trust and validation processes. And so I'm going to jump ahead really quick here, just discussing like Grayscale AI, which was a startup that is using the Casper network to mint. And we discussed Grayscale AI and how they're using the Casper network, and they're doing a lot of mints right now on the Casper network, and you can see those deploys on casper.live under the deploys. But what does this kind of look like in other aspects, right? So Maddie, we talk a lot about Casper, but what about elsewhere, right? So you had Chainlink in Google Cloud. That was more implementation of Chainlink, but let's look at like Algorand and IBMR, which is the International Blockchain Monetary Reserve. And that was a collaborative effort. So this is like the essence of what we're discussing here about a lot of collaboration. We're going to actually discuss a lot about collaboration here. And I have my own thoughts, and I'm interested to hear Maddie's, because it seems like everyone has to come together right now to collaborate to create something bigger and better, whether it's for a product, whether it's for compliance. And so that's the implementation here. And so when is this coming? I saw online as early as September 16th. But this was planned for the end of Q3, which is this month. So it could get pushed back to Q4, which is starting in October. But we hope this comes out soon. And Maddie, my question to you is so we know what Prove AI is. We know it's a main tool for Casper, for adoption. Why does the Prove AI tool matter so much, and why does it need to work for Casper?
I think that a successful implementation of Prove AI is going to do a couple of things. One, it's going to prove a fundamental fact to people of, hey, we've done all the sandbox testing. Now we've implemented this live. Let's say we've done 100,000 of these Prove AI transactions that were all successful, and we've done an audit of them, and we've gone back and we've shown that all of those audits are, even if we're doing this by hand just a couple of times just to make sure that everything is what it's supposed to be. It starts to instill a little bit of confidence in the fundamentals of what this blockchain is actually trying to achieve. It also, to some extent, in my opinion, will legitimize the relationship with IBM that Casper does have with this product, and maybe starts to bring a little bit more community confidence and just consumer confidence as a whole to potentially building their applications on the Casper network. So I think that those are two very big things to consider. Like you mentioned at the top, there's a million reasons why people need to validate data, and sometimes it's very, very sensitive data, like maybe government data, military data. We want to make sure is not only authentic, but is being sent on a very secure network. That's something actually the Constellation Network's working on right now, and why I think that like high throughput models like DAGs are very, very valuable. And it could be as simple as like you mentioned as well, like, just making sure that we're not letting, stuff on socials run wild, and, your Nan gets a video of Donald Trump, saying that he needs $2,000 from her today to, win this campaign.
Yeah.
And you can have tools that can just say, well, hey, we're pretty sure that this is a scam. Are you sure you want to proceed by watching this video, right? So I do think that there's going to be a huge need for AI regulation over the years as this tech continues to get better and better and bigger and bigger. And I think there's also going to be a lot of overlap. I don't think that Casper will be the only project out there that provides really valuable AI governance. I think that they're one of the projects and verticals out there that I think is going to perform well within that sector. But I think that there, like you said, there's going to be a lot of cross collaboration in order to really make this space very legitimate and very efficient.
Maddie, my question, a follow-up question to that, because I was just thinking about, where kind of Prove AI lines up with all of these utility cases, right? One of the critiques early on was like getting transactions on the Casper network. And so a party wanted to do that by a way of meme coins, right? And now we're seeing actual utility with Grayscale AI minting on the Casper network, minting their supply chain, their NFTs on the Casper network. And so where does this kind of like rank in terms of use cases? Because ultimately we want to keep the stair step going, right? If that's a good analogy.
Right. I think that it puts us in a very strong spot. Like I said, I think the sentiment and community would turn around pretty significantly if we saw a very successful launch of this particular program. I think that the anticipation was so high for the partnership in which we were going to do minting of intellectual property, and unfortunately of no fault of Casper's, wasn't able to see that come to fruition, right? At least in totality. We did see test deployments and other stuff, but not in the totality that we're going to see here with Prove AI. So I think that's going to be really important. I think it's going to really just put us in a more safe spot all around, and I'm really looking forward to it. We also have the Condor upgrade coming soon here, where we're going to be able to have like flexible time blocks when it comes to actual validation. So based on people's needs, they can basically increase or decrease costs with those flexible time blocks. There's going to be a lot of flexibility when it comes to the smart contracts and in the way that you're able to upgrade them, as well as deploying them in more complex instances from the get-go. So there's a lot of really, really exciting, cohesive, and really material development here on the Casper network right now. So I'm happy to see Prove AI is around the corner. I know that Condor is coming out. If you guys don't know about Condor, definitely go check out some of Casper Labs, like little bite-sized videos on some of the big upgrades that are coming with this most recent upgrade with Condor. I think it's very exciting, and I think you guys should be at least educated on it if you're going to invest in Casper.
Lovely there, Maddie. I do want to discuss compliance, right? So, this is a big boom in tech right now when discussing AI, California being a tech hub. And so, we are seeing some legislation out of California, which is where I'm from. But we've also, in the past, leading up to this, saw the EU Act, so Casper, being on top of that, and now we have some legislation coming out of not coming out of Casper, coming out. Casper's not, producing legislation. California is, and so this is another area of the world where Casper's product could be useful. So I do want to give you some background here, and because later on we'll discuss the MICA Alliance, which is kind of in tandem of what Casper has been doing. So let's understand California's proposed AI regulations. California has recently introduced several legislative measures to manage the risks associated with AI, especially in areas where the technology could pose significant public safety concerns, in particular SB 1047, the Safe and Secure Innovation for Frontier Artificial Intelligence Models Act, authored by State Senator Scott Weiner. While the bill has passed the Senate and entered Assembly, it would be the first of its kind in the U.S. to require AI companies building large-scale models to test them for safety. And bill, one sec, I want to scroll down over here just so I'm ready. The bill proposes that developer implement robust cybersecurity protections, conduct regular safety reviews, and ensure that AI models are safe before public deployment. Additionally, operators using these models must maintain records and have the ability to shut down operations if and when needed. So it is great and dandy to create a product using generative AI. But if that is not governed, Maddie, if that is not governed and it runs wild, that is a threat to California. That is a threat to the EU. So this is very important here, team. I don't think there's nothing here to really stress the importance of it, as California is a tech hub with a lot of AI tech innovation. And so they are on the cutting edge right now. They are on the fringe of tackling this AI, and Casper wants to be a part in it, which kind of puts together for you the use case of what Casper is on right now. And we will get to, it's kind of stupid of me to kind of cut this off and go to a Bitcoin reaction, but let's just stop the, compliance, topic for a second here, because we see how valuable that is, all right? And we see what projects are ahead of that right now, right? But I do want to just sidestep away and, not bore with the compliance topics, but I do want to talk about this Twitter space I saw, or this X space I saw this weekend, Matt. And in one of my Bitcoin telegrams, I get alerts from everything that's happening in Bitcoin, and it was kind of hilarious just seeing responses to this, the likes with this and the dislikes to this, because it is pretty stupid when you look at the leaders in our nation now being very outspoken about Bitcoin. This was a very popular topic of this election cycle, with people like Bill Ackman, leaving the Democratic side in favor of Trump, one of his talking points being Bitcoin. And so it's really undisputable at this point when you look at the both platforms, RNC and DNC, just a simple mention of Bitcoin. And so whether that comes to fruition or not, that's not on, why I'm voting for who I'm going to vote for. That's not really at the top of my list there. But I do have, some crypto here on the line, Matt. And so it does matter. And so when we discuss Bitcoin, and this was being shitted on by a former SEC official here. And so, Maddie, we're going to get a raw and, organic reaction here from this SEC official. This was what, John Reed Stark? Yeah, John Reed Stark, former chief SEC Office of Internet Enforcement. And he had a not so interesting take here on Bitcoin. Let's give it a little listen here.
When you think about it, if you're recommending, first of all, if you're an investment advisor, you have an incredible fiduciary duty, much bigger than any other fiduciary duty in finance. You have to really understand your client's circumstance before you put them in any kind of investment. But let's just even take a step back from that. What are you saying when you say to your client, hey, you should invest in Bitcoin because? What's the next sentence? Because they have great earnings, because they have great management, because they have a great product, because their balance sheet is very strong, because their income statement is exceptional, because their employees are so terrific. None of this is it's it's all there's no quantitative, qualitative, or any kind of data that anyone can use to figure out what the value of Bitcoin should be, other than to say there are plenty of fools out there that will buy more of it. So you might as well invest in it. So calling it a store of value, of course, is absurd, and calling it anything. So I don't understand how a legitimate finance professional can make this kind of recommendation to anyone, because I don't understand what could possibly follow in the next sentence when you say buy Bitcoin because, other than to say because we think it's going to go up. Well, why is it going to go up? Because a lot of people think it's going to go up. That's all that anyone can say. So it's very Alice in Wonderland to me. I don't, and I agree with Dave about the systemic risk, because if you talk about those 15,000 brokers, and the big banks are always doing this. I had a friend, a colleague of mine.
Okay, I'm not interested to hear about his colleague stance on
Right.
that, but Maddie, you kind of get the picture there, right? So,
Yeah.
what are some of your general reactions to some spewing hate, and obviously not an intellectual argument he made there?
I think it's a horrible argument. I think that there was a million things that you could say about, why someone should invest in Bitcoin, or, why it could be difficult to talk to certain audiences about Bitcoin. Like, those are all very reasonable conversations. But what he starts with, and this is just like the pilgrimage SEC approach to everything, is that they immediately are like, well, it doesn't fit in the security box. So how can I advise if it doesn't look exactly like every security that I've ever recommended? And those are all the prongs that he was talking about. Like, what are the earnings? What's this? What is that? We don't have that with crypto, right? It's a completely unique asset class. And he basically kind of just made everyone's point that we've had here when we're battling back and forth with the SEC in these big cases, is that the investors didn't buy crypto with the ideology that they were buying a company. Maybe some people do, but I mean, there's also people that are just don't have very big brains in general, and I can't fix that, right? You can't fix stupid. But that's going to be one of the things that he's trying to cram, obviously, the idea of crypto, which is really, in my opinion, aligns more with like a commodity than it does a security. Certainly doesn't fit a security. So, and then the second part really is okay, I understand your clients' needs or whatever. Like, if your clients are really old and they want to be retired in the next 15 years, yeah, you're not going to put them in 85% crypto, but that doesn't mean they don't want 5% exposure, right? That doesn't mean they don't want 2% exposure. Like, you don't know what your client's volatility. It would be the same as saying, listen, sir, you're not going to get any S&P, exposure because, you want something slow and steady. So we're only putting you in bonds. Like, you're still going to have some volatility to make sure that you keep up with inflation over time and all these different things. So at the end there, he's suggesting and kind of implying that, oh, well, stocks go up because of all these factors. Yeah, it's true. Like, you can have really, really bad earnings or good earnings that can affect, how a certain stock performs. But what do we know about risk on assets over time? As long as you're a somewhat legitimate company, the economy is doing well, the price of your stock is probably going to go up. Why? Because, like he just said, somebody at a point in the future will pay more than what you paid for. It's exactly the same concept. We are all always betting on that there will be more liquidity in the markets 5, 10, 20 years from now, and that we will always be able to sell to somebody at a higher price than what we paid for, right? Like, that is the entire strategy of any investment, whether we're talking about stocks or otherwise. So he kind of just reverse explained liquidity but we're suggesting that it only applies to the crypto market and doesn't apply to the stock market. I'm personally of the belief that risk on assets move together, and that includes stocks and crypto.
Great insight there, Matt. Yeah, completely foolish. I wonder what Michael Saylor would respond. I don't think I saw a response from him, or some of these other companies that are taking their treasury assets and investing into Bitcoin, and it has seemed for the better. Metaplanet, even their stock, even MicroStrategy, even their stock. So they're preserving their treasury. And that's why I told you a while back, it's like Michael Saylor looks at Bitcoin as, yes, the greatest asset of all time. That's why he can invest at any single price. That's why he doesn't have an analyst in his ear being like, oh, let's wait for let's DCA right now. Or,
Right.
let's throw one giant limit order in the bear market. It's like, we're going to buy whenever we can get a hold of money. That's when they're going to buy. And honestly, even at that strategy, that has done them for the better. And so it's a really stupid argument. And the things that Maddie contributed there was phenomenal, Matt. I do wanted to wrap this up today talking about Hedera. And this, when I was reading it, I was like, okay, this is gonna get jumbled up. Let's let's bring this all together here. Let's start with Hedera contributing entire code base to Linux Foundation. So what's Hedera Hashgraph? It is a public network algorithm that efficientizes digital transactions, right? What is Linux Foundation? It's a nonprofit helping for open source projects. Then we have, under the Linux Foundation, we have LF Decentralized Trust, is the Linux Foundation's flagship product for hosting and supporting current and future open source software, right? And then this is where we get Hyro, which is an LF decentralized trust project, a robust open source distributed ledger technology that includes all of the core network software needed to deploy and run a fully public network and interact with the Hedera network, all right? So the code's out there, all right? And so Hedera has become a founding member, premier member of the newly launched LF Decentralized Trust under the Linux Foundation. So now you understand why I need to okay, there's a couple layers here. Let's work down. And it contributes to the entire, Hedera is contributing its entire source code, including the hashgraph consensus algorithm, to the open source Hyro project. And so on GitHub, I read this. This was interesting. The mission of the project is to create and support a fully open source developer ecosystem of tools, libraries, and core capabilities of and around, keyword around. Some of people were like, oh, what does this mean for Hedera? It's like, hey, this is supposed to help Hedera. And a public distributed ledger, DLT, and its unique hashgraph algorithm. The project supports the ecosystem supports of the Hedera network as a fast, fair, and secure public distributed ledger. And also in tandem with this, hilariously enough, Hedera is breaking all the news today. Hedera is joining the MiCA Alliance with Ripple and Aptos. And so this was like what I was saying earlier about Casper Network and how they are trying to enter the sphere with compliance. Now we got the MiCA Crypto Alliance with these three different companies here. Maddie, my question for you is something a little bit more broad here, so we're not like focusing all the way in on this, because we can talk about like what comes out of this. But what is the root of all these companies' collaborations? Like you got MiCA Alliance, you got Hedera collaborations, you've had tons of Ripple collaborations in the past, but it seems like everyone needs help from the other person. We even talked about news a couple weeks ago of a collaboration between, I believe it was Algorand and Hedera, murmurs. And so everyone wants a collaboration. Why is this collaborations? Why are these collaborations necessary?
Obviously, when we do work together and when technology is still evolving, not just from a regulatory standpoint, but even just from a technology standpoint, when we're still evolving, we have to share work with each other and lean on the strengths and the weaknesses of other projects that have come before, so that we can build more efficient technology. Now, once we realize that we have tech that's actually getting close to being retail ready. Now, again, I'm saying getting close to being retail ready. I'm not saying we're all going to start using the Bitcoin network tomorrow as our main medium of of transaction, right? I know, unfortunately, I'm going to go ahead and say pretty bullishly 99.9% that Bank of America wakes up and says, just kidding, you don't get to send any Zelle today. Everything goes directly over Bitcoin. But I think when we're this close to starting to actually put some bigger retail products out there that people are able to plug and play with, accounting firms, companies can start plugging and playing with software that runs over these networks. We have to really do as much collaboration as possible to get in the conversations with lawmakers before things are cemented in stone that make this industry worse or set us back when it comes to what we can actually roll out as tech. Nothing worse than sitting on amazing tech but being unable to release it because of unfair regulation. So markets and crypto asset regulations, MiCA over in the EU is a very big movement. Do I agree with everything that the EU has come out with in relation to regulation? No, but at least they're doing something. So I absolutely love to see that we have some of these bigger companies, especially obviously Ripple and as well as the Hedera Foundation, coming together for the Crypto Alliance. I think that's absolutely massive. As far as the other couple of things we talked about with Linux, I know maybe some of you guys are familiar with it, some of you guys are not familiar. Even though I have my bones to pick with Windows, I'd throw myself down a set of stairs before I ever used Linux. But it is absolutely like the most decentralized operating system you could possibly have. So if you're going to have somebody partnering up with it and having kind of like this cross compatibility to utilize, Hedera resources, and especially the hashgraph model in conjunction with Linux, I think that's going to be a very hand in glove fit. fit. So I am excited to see both of these things. I think they're both very bullish. And again, it kind of just shows about like what we're talking about with like the slow build and the behind the scenes of like, we all look at the price action and for, whatever, 12 or 18 months, we go, that was the most valuable network. Well, maybe yes, maybe there were some networks that had a lot of demand on them, but like there's also just really, really good timing and there's really, really bad timing. But I'm bullish on these kinds of projects long-term because I've seen them, weather multiple storms. And then after each storm, not just maintaining and staying the same, but getting bigger, growing, pushing further on that roadmap, and then continuing with these partnerships. So those are the things that make me bullish long-term. Some of you guys need that narrative today for today about what price is going to do tomorrow. But this is kind of like how I approach a lot of my long-term investments, guys. This is the kind of stuff that goes, yeah, I'm bullish for the next decade. Like that's not going to change no matter how many black swans and presidents and other things come over the next 8 to 10 years.
I love that, Maddie. We're out of time, team, but maybe next time when we pick up this topic, we can talk about like what does it mean if your project, the token you're grabbing, if this project is not actively collaborating with other projects. What does that mean? Is that a red flag for you? We'll pick up that topic on another time because we are way over for you guys. We go over sometimes and it happens, but we are here to go over. We are not here to bullshit our way through the video and then end at 16 minutes. So team, if you got something valuable here, make sure you leave a like and just quickly speaking off what Maddie just said right now, hey, it doesn't happen all overnight. We just saw this with Casper right now they're hammering home this tool, and so hopefully this works for the better here and we see active progress with these projects, and hopefully we see active progress and we can control it, these price actions. And so we have upcoming events that will affect the direction of the risk on markets. And so team, if you want to be tapped in with that, make sure you become a Crypto Charge member and join the website. I highly recommend last Tuesday, I've recommended it a couple of times, Dan went in and he actually laid the case for everything not being so great, how things could potentially get worse for Bitcoin, which would affect our altcoins. So I highly suggest if you become a Crypto Charge member or are, make sure you go watch last Tuesday's show, as it will paint a picture that we will be painting in the near future on one of our shows. But if you want a sneak peek of it, go watch the Crypto Charge live show last Tuesday, and it was pretty phenomenal. It's a little long, but I guarantee you it will be worth your time. Team, we will see you guys on Wednesday for the Ask Maddie show, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. So if you have questions, make sure you leave them down below. Make sure they are good. Make sure they are about the altcoins we care about. If you ask something stupid about a meme coin, I won't pull it up. I will just chuckle and laugh and dislike your comment. So team, we will see you guys Wednesday. Bye.